Welcome back to the Daily Dose. For all of you who participated in the 28 Acts Challenge, congratulations, you made it. For those of you who missed it, it will always be available on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Take a look. But anyway, we are back, and we're going big time. For the next 2 weeks, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the 10 Commandments. I remember learning about the commandments as a young kid in Sunday school. Between the boring readings and the painful memory work, I do not look back fondly on those days. And what kid likes rules anyways, right? But what I know about God now is that God is so much bigger than I can ever imagine. And God is doing some crazy, amazing things, even when I don't see it. And that is also true about this. So let's dig in. I just asked the question, what kind of kid likes rules? I can imagine it might have felt the same way to the Israelites, just being freed from slavery in Egypt and starting a brand new life following God. I imagine them not being too keen on this whole rule idea, just as I wasn't as a kid, just as my kids are not excited about them today. But in my mind, I think about it from a parent's view now. The Israelites going through the wilderness and into the promised land from being slaves is like kids being in a candy store unsupervised and wanting every single piece of candy and flavor of soda. Does anybody remember the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? It makes me think of the antagonist children in that movie. The kids are surrounded by chocolate and candy and gum, and the kids whose parents don't have rules end up in the chocolate river or turning into an exploding blueberry. If my kids had unending access to sweets with no rules, they would eat and eat and eat. And then we know what happens next, parents. They get stomach aches, they can't sleep, and they might even throw up. As parents, rules keep our children safe and healthy. It is an expression of love for our most beloved. We create boundaries for them to operate from so they can live freely as themselves. And I believe that is what it was like for God to give Moses the 10 Commandments for the Israelites, God's children, and also for us today. So today we get to dive into the first commandment. You shall have no other gods. It is the first in order and of importance. I think we often shrug over this as we read it, and we do that because monotheism, having one God, is the norm these days. Many of us grew up in church worshiping one God, so when we hear a rule that says no other gods before our God, it just doesn't really make sense. But looking back, monotheism wasn't the norm when the Israelites left Egypt. Pharaoh and the Egyptians, the place that they had just been freed from, had gods for everything, for the weather, for family, for water, for tight pants, who knows? They had gods for everything. Second, if the number one rule was to worship Yahweh above all other gods, that is an acknowledgement of the belief in more than one God. So just the commandment in itself is providing reason for us to believe that at that time in history, the Israelites believed there were more than just one God. God didn't even tell them in the commandments not to believe in any other gods. God just said that the other ones should not be as important as me. They should not come before me. They should be after me. But I think it goes even deeper than that for us. I don't think that God just meant to be before other gods. I think it's about where our priorities are. If we put God first, what does that mean? It means wholehearted devotion, total obedience, and absolute loyalty. It means we will love God, serve God, obey God, trust God, worship God, seek God, please God, fear God, and follow God. I know that I can focus so much on money that money becomes a god to me, or food, or my wife, or my family. I know that we can make fishing or music or politics become our god. And I think that is what God was addressing through Moses. It means we will stop playing God in our own lives and let God be God. We want to have control over everything, and we ultimately step into this role of God rather than needing a savior. I think Jesus says it perfectly in Matthew 6. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Jesus and ultimately God knew that if you put God first, God will have your heart. And God just wants your heart. God just wants you. And so as we close today, I think the whole reason that God gave the commandment of having no other gods before Yahweh, I think God is just expressing love for you and for me, wanting a relationship with us. Not saying that money and food and jobs and family and fishing and control are not real life things, but saying that above all those, we have God and God's unconditional, never-ending, unfathomable, reckless love for you and for me. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you watched on Facebook, we would love if you hit like and share on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. And if you watched it on television, invite a family member or a friend to join you next time. Thanks so much. God bless.